live.
All right.
Okay,
And we are live.
now we're live.
Hey guys. So it's us. This is John from Speed Style. We got Adam, and then our special guest today is Joe from Seattle area. He is Mr. Bankai Builds RC on Instagram. He is legendary when it comes to his bodies that he paints and do graphics for. He is nationally known, as far as I know. A lot of the California guys have used them, and some other places that I probably don't know about. There's some internationally. Can we say
I've
that?
sold one internationally. Yep.
Okay, so we can say that he's internationally
Yeah,
known.
one in the bucket.
So, Joe, do you want to tell us a little bit more about you?
Yeah, well, like John said, I'm Joe. I started Bankai Builds RC. That's my page on Instagram. I do a lot of drift car building, not much outside of that. And yeah, located in the Tacoma, kind of greater Tacoma area.
Okay. So do you have a home track right now?
Up here, no, there's a lot of drift meetups that happen through RCFC. Originally, I was part of, I guess, home track for Kong RC when they were open there in Linwood, and then Let's Drift RC, Guy Marsh's place up in like the Arlington area.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I went to Kong a few times in my days of driving to Seattle to
There were a
drift.
couple of times with you.
Yeah. So do you do any other RC stuff? Like as far as like, do you have a basher? Do you have a helicopter? Or is it just strictly into drift?
Slowly gotten into that. I do have a buggy that I'm working on. I started with like X mods and mini Z's before doing 1/10 RC drift. So I did a little bit of that. Those were kind of limited, so I didn't really end up doing a whole lot with it. But after drifting, yeah, I've kind of expanded a little into buggies.
Okay.
Like racing buggies or just outside buggies, like basher buggies.
Just track, mostly track stuff, but just like a team associated.
Gotcha.
Okay,
Standard,
cool.
PD,
I like
whatever,
race buggy stuff.
old school.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, I
whatever,
noticed you got the PDX round hat. How was the drift track over there?
It's starting. Definitely, there's a little bit more traction now that we actually had a good turnout last night, even though it was kind of sketchy because there was still ice on the road. The main road to get there, definitely icy. Like you get like 2 inches of ice on the road, and you can see like how the ice broke up, and then there's still sections where even all-wheel drive was sliding if you're not driving the way you should be.
Right, I forgot you guys got so much snow down there the other day.
Oh yeah, I got stuck.
It's only Portland, because like Portland just freezes over and over and over again.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So
sounds about right.
It's cool. It's getting there. Kevin has really been accommodating to what we want to do with the track. We'll see how far it goes. And I told the guys that right now all we can do is support. Like we shouldn't be demanding a whole lot of things. We should be like, okay, to get a track going, this is it. But it's good. So far, all the guys are being respectful, and Kevin has been helpful to get the track going.
Good. Nice.
Yeah. So any plans on coming down like someday?
Yeah, I'd love to. I need to check out. Well, I remember back when I visited Matt down at the Drift Deli, PDX Underground was talking about opening up and doing some drift things. And that was a number of years ago. So to see him finally doing it, yeah, I'd love to come down and take a look and then go down to Albany as well.
Hell yeah. We can make a weekend out of it.
Are you guys doing an event down at Albany tomorrow?
Yep. Nothing like competition wise. We're doing a Matsuri. Just come play, drift around. I have a Mario Kart-esque type of battle royale planned tomorrow. So
that should be fun.
If you're listening, if you're coming, make sure that you bring a body that you don't care about, because things can happen or things might happen. It
Yeah,
involves
there you go.
balloons and
Mhm.
thumbtacks, so
Nice.
should be fun.
Cool. Um, so the follow-up question that I was gonna have after what other RCs you're doing, when did you get started with RC Drift, and then why RC Drift?
I got started probably about 7.5 years ago in RC Drift, just because having come from like the X Mods Mini Z scale, it was really something that I was already into. Uh, as far as the street style cars, and back in those days, the drift cars, they were cool, but they were so hard to set up to actually get to drift properly that it took until about then for them to be easy enough to set up that they actually drove without a whole bunch of effort.
Mhm.
So finally I got into it when it just became a little bit easier to set up for a beginner.
Cool. So I know are you still doing big car stuff? Are
Real
you
car
still
stuff.
working?
Yeah, we picked up a 2003 350Z about a year and a half ago, and it was a real piece of crap. It's all blown up, had a blown motor, and every single body panel was dented in. And we got it running again. We swapped or switched out the motor with just the same motor, and then did switched it from an automatic to a manual transmission. So that's up and running, and we just need a few body parts to get her back in roadworthy.
Okay. Well, it's drivable, right? You just want to make it look better.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yep, just want to make it look like a complete car.
Hmm. Understandable. That's kind of why the Lexus is no longer here, because I just couldn't take not having everything match on the outside the way I want to.
Yeah,
So,
I
I'm the
mean,
same way, man.
you
Too
could
mhm.
have
picky.
finished wrapping it, John.
Yeah, that I just didn't want to put the effort in that. It's one of those. Like, I definitely think that if I would have kept the diff not welded and just run a regular LSD, it would have been better. But that's for a different video.
Right?
Uh,
Yeah.
so as far as painting bodies, um, do you paint anything else other than RC drift bodies? Like,
I what?
have you done jobs that are not RC drift related?
Just for friends. I've had a couple of family members who do like buggies and whatnot. So I've painted a couple for them, but nothing. I haven't really reached outside of the drift community looking for work in that way. I think probably if you look around, some of the best painters out there are buggy painters. So there's really no lack of really just solid buggy painters out there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, how many bodies do you think have painted ever since you started painting?
Oh
That is a
God.
hard question.
That is a hard question. I usually, I mean, a pretty steady year is probably about 13 a year. I think I have at least that many, if not more, already lined up for this year. Going by that metric, probably a good 50. 50 seems about a good number overall.
Okay.
And
Now,
that's commission, like for myself and just kind of here and there, man. Too many bodies.
Too many bodies. I
Yeah,
mean, that's
man.
about right? Because um, for the details that I've seen, like as far as what you do with the bodies, I mean, they're pretty amazing. I have not quite yet like seen anyone else do the same details that you do. I mean, I've seen like videos from Japan of people doing crazy body paints and whatnot, but not in the
Sure.
US. Like US is kind of like okay, street style and then a bunch of stickers. Um,
Yeah.
so let's see here. Do you want to tell us like what you paint and like what do you do when you paint a body? Like you want to go through like a body and showcase that or tell us about it?
Yeah, like just kind of from start to finish kind of deal,
Mm-hmm.
like up my process.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So
While he's doing
Basically,
that, I just want to do
uh,
a quick shout out before we do. Well, not shout out, but Jacob Parker brought it up. Import Expo at Portland Convention Center on March 25th. Also, the week before that, there's going to be the Portland Roadster Show. We're also going to have a drift little setup there as well. So, lots of stuff happening at the convention or the expo center. Not the convention. Where we have all the car meets. That one. Yeah.
Expo Center.
they're both going to be there.
Yeah,
Yes.
back
Yeah.
to back. So there's
Okay, wow.
so it should be
Nice.
a good week or a good month.
Yeah. Roadster Show is a 3-day show, so pick one if you plan on going, and then let everyone know so we can all just like show up.
Yeah, there you go.
Cool.
Okay.
Oh,
Back-
are we set up to show the pictures he sent us?
Oh, there were no pictures sent, or at least I didn't check for pictures.
Oh, yeah, on that.
I put a handful of them in there, but I've got all of those bodies right here too. So either way,
Oh, you sent in the chat?
Yeah, in a
in the
group chat.
hmm
Oh, those. Okay. Well, let's focus on what he has in his hands right now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I mean, just for starting out a body, really just cut it out and clean it up. And then I have a Cricut is what I use to cut out my masking. And then we'll basically reverse cut my masking and lay it down the way that I want it. And then just kind of go through basically what color should I start with? What process can I take that's going to result in me using the least amount of paint and the same color the least amount of times. Just to get that durability so you're not like piling up a bunch of paint and it's becoming loose, as you bang around with it on the track. So basically once that's done, you just move through your colors, and this one's the same design, but you can kind of see from start to finish.
Cool.
And how you would go through that. About halfway through, you get something like this where you're peeling masking and you can see, the areas that still need paint
Mm-hmm.
and whatnot. But it's a lot of masking. It's a lot of cleaning. If you want clean lines, you really have to make sure that the body's clean and doesn't have like a bunch of residue or like masking residue, fingerprints, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Now, when you say masking residue, are you talking about the masking itself? Like if you're using painter's tape?
Yes. If you, there's transfer tape that'll leave residue. There's the masking itself. When you're pressing the masking in, it will bleed glue out of the side.
Hmm.
And if you don't go along and clean up those edges, the likelihood of getting a clean edge on something like that is just, it becomes a lot harder. There's a lot more there.
So you definitely gotta pay attention to details, is what you're saying. Like
Yeah, pretty much.
details.
Yeah. You have to plan it from beginning to end, So if you're not the patient type, then it's probably not going to be that fun of an experience for you. The thing that I really like about addiction bodies being multi-pieces is you can do a piece at a time and, start to get a feel for how your body's going to come to get together. And that kind of makes it a little bit easier.
So Joe,
for me,
we've got chat going on. Lance is asking, what kind of paint do you use? An airbrush or rattle can? And do you have a paint booth? There's a lot.
My garage is a paint booth, basically. I paint out there and then run inside and put it in the bathroom with the fan on to kind of let it dry. My preference would be rattle can. That's the majority of what I use. I'm kind of starting to dip my feet into airbrush, but man, that's a whole nother beast. I mean, there's really a lot that you have to pin down to get things right with that. And I have done a couple, but I'm still learning in that regard.
Brand of paint that you prefer?
Tamiya.
Okay.
Tamiya PS paints, for sure. And then when it comes to airbrush, Createx and Mission Models has been pretty good for me.
Lance will be happy
stuff like that.
that.
Yeah.
Right on.
So on your body, since you showed us the process from start, now when you paint the bodies and you complete finished products, you're still using graphics on the outside, correct?
It really depends. That last one I showed you, no.
Okay.
This is all masking and all painted on,
Okay.
all of it. But for some of them, it depends on the look that you're trying to get. But this one definitely has stickers. I couldn't get the holographic look on it without
Mhm.
using those.
Okay.
Yeah, but otherwise, that's the only thing on here that's sticker.
Okay. Cool. I've always admired like all the builds with like the stickers and the details on the paint job. I know when I seen the first bodies that you've done, like the item B RX-7,
Mhm.
that one definitely has the holographic stickers on it, and I believe that's all black, right? Or
It is. Yeah, I did all black on that except for one of them I did chrome because chrome stickers tend to be a little bit thicker. They don't kind of stick to the creases quite as well.
Mhm.
So I did paint the chrome on for that. But that car in particular, that's when I first got my Cricut and was just kind of feeling out how to use that system.
Okay.
Uh, and that kind of led me to making just the full masking and things like that, just to kind of get away from my dependence on stickers.
Okay. So we're gonna kind of move away a little bit away from the painting bodies. We'll jump back into it here in a little bit. We want to talk about what chassis you drive. So this is
Oh,
our featured chassis section. So what
okay, well, I'm
how
working
many
on
chassis
one
do you
that you
have?
guys might, huh?
How many chassis do you have?
Boy, I've got probably,
Well, wait, let me rephrase that. How many chassis do you have that you actually drive for drifting?
okay, I've got two, soon to be three. I'm working on my Midnight
Hey.
Mini right now,
Yeah.
right? This thing's cool. I'm pretty excited about this, but this is pretty much like the newest chassis I would say that I own. I've got a YD2 SX2 and a PDS mix in addition to this.
So what's your main chassis, like your go-to chassis that you drive? Like say you're gonna go to the expo or you're gonna go drift at some, like if you go to PDX or Albany,
Yeah, the either the mix or the SX2. They're
which one
both
do you
pretty
drive the
pretty
most?
solid. What's that?
Which one do you drive the most?
I'd say the mix.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So since the mini looks almost done, I was gonna ask you how's it going, but it looks like it's coming along. Um, what we're gonna talk about, we want to talk about your PDX mix and your setup on it. Um, Tell us your camber for front, the rear, toe settings, oils and piston. We can go through that real quick. And if there's some top secret stuff, then you can kind of leave those out. But
Yeah, no, it's good. This is kind of in between for me right now. I've really just been using it for mock-ups for pictures, but you can see on the rear I'm running the active toe from Usukani, and the action on this thing is just so severe that I'm getting ready to take this off. So, but if I did come down to the expo, this would be the chassis. Nothing really too crazy going on here except for that uh, rear active toe and the rear mounted servo
Okay.
okay,
on it as well. Um, yeah, as far as camber settings, I believe I'm at like a probably about a 9 up front. And with the active toe on the back, it's man, I couldn't even tell you. I tried
Um,
to get it as close to like 2 as I could, and man, it moves around so much that I know it's variable.
so a few guys of us are running that same active toe kit. Um, one of our guys, I gave him my extra Rev D number 3, uh, toe block that has the little standoff place for the active toe, so it made it much more tolerable.
Yeah, manageable maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't look as crazy, that's for sure.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I'll have to check that out because I'd love to use it. It's a kind of a cool system, but for right now, it is just too much of a dramatic movement.
And what tires are those? Because they look like T-drifts.
Oh yeah, and a nice rubber HPI racing, man.
Okay.
Yeah,
For those
yeah,
pictures.
yeah. You're gonna blow up your gearbox. Just strap some of these on there.
So shock oil, piston, springs.
So I use Axon shock oil. I was most recently running this at Guy's Track, so I think I went with like a 5-weight for their Axon 5-weight. And I may have changed the pistons in here to the tapered Yokomo pistons as well.
Okay.
But nothing too fancy here. I've got Yokomo springs on it right now.
Do you know which ones, or is it just a box stock?
I don't. I've got just some stock, what you would expect out of a YD2 stock spring setup for the front, and maybe some Revy Ds for the back. I'm not entirely sure.
Right. We've gotten to that point where if the spring does a job, I don't even know what they are. Like I have no color codes on my springs. It's just like I measure them like this. Okay, it's that.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a match. Or I match if it's Rev D. Like what do you as far as like weight bias, where do you think you're at?
I like to shoot for a 60-40, but on this chassis, I'm thinking it's probably, if not 70-30, 65-35, something like that.
Cool.
A lot of the newer chassis are going for that 70-30 split.
Yeah, it seems to be more popular, that's for sure.
Oh, follow-up question on the setup on your car. You had the rear mounted servo. How's that working out for you versus the front? Because I know on the YD2 you're still in the front.
Yeah, when it comes to a PDS in particular, I don't mind that the servo's relocated because I've always had issues with the servo horn coming loose on the thing anyway. I've not had that issue at all with this. I do like the higher weight, kind of mid to rear weight as well for a little extra throw. So I really like the kit. It's good. Just as good, if not better than the direct throw that it had previously.
Okay, cool. Adam, do you have any follow-up questions?
No, not really. Like the way that the servo relocation goes, it's kind of like a rendition of the Bianca, like more so that type of way. But it's up above, so that's cool. What I did with my mix is that I actually kept it low motor, and then I threw like a 30-gram weight just like up above in the air so it could throw the weight around. And that's what worked out best for me.
Okay.
So I've been thinking about doing that rear mounted servo on the RDX because there's some option to do so. Just because it'd be something different than what I'm.
How far rear of the midline?
I want to say it's all the way to the rear towards the battery mount. Or yeah, like basically the servo will sit. Here, let me grab it. I don't have pictures, but excuse the screws. There's so many that I'm working on. So right here where that hole is, basically I can take that servo and put it back here. So it's basically where my gyro and my servo would be. I think it ends like right here.
Okay.
I seen it in one of the Japanese posts that it's back there. I was gonna try it just since I have the option. I was like, oh, maybe I'll do that. But I haven't completely dug through the box. I don't know if it's got the linkage that you need to put it back there. So
okay, how far off are you from running that thing?
I've been running it. I actually got rid of my MC1 completely, and
oh wow,
the RDX and the Mini. I got him to drive very close to similar. I want to say there's almost there. Like I think the RDX is right here and the Mini's right here. So uh, the goal was to just grab the car, put a battery in it, and run it. Like no camber adjustment, no toe adjustments. Just I'm just adjusting springs and preloads is the goal, and tires. So I wanted to eliminate all the extra. When you go to a track and it's not driving right, you're like, oh man, my toe's not right, my camber's not right. This way, I want to grab the car, fly out to California, drive it. I want to go to Florida, visit a track, drive it, spin out a few times, and then, oh, okay, I need to do this. And it's tires and springs. So that was the idea. So far, it's been really good. It drives really good on concrete. Uh, I do have to practice driving on concrete because basically when I got it, I went to P tile, and I haven't gone back to concrete. So I might be weird on tomorrow when we go out driving on concrete because
Sure.
I'm so used to P tile with all that grip. So
You need a
yeah,
CLSD for it.
uh, my CLSD lead has been back and forth with me, so I'm like, and it's out of stock everywhere. And
Canada.
like you mentioned that it may not do what I want it to, so that's why I haven't really pushed forward on like I gotta get one or I gotta have one. Um, so yeah, we can talk about my chassis later. But
Sorry.
do we have any? Let's see. Do we want to move on to tips and tricks on masking and painting bodies?
Okay, yeah. Really, just when it comes to masking, just keeping everything clean. If you're gonna go through the trouble of you taking the time and the effort to put together a paint job like that, and you want it to turn out the way that you're looking for it to turn out, really just keeping it clean, being patient, nice light coats of paint. You don't want to build up like thick layers of paint, especially on masking, because that's where you get your tears and things of that nature. And also, if you make mistakes, everybody makes mistakes. I always make mistakes when I do mine. It's just a matter of, again, being patient, going back and trying to fix those mistakes, and just really taking the time with that.
Are you a liquid mask guy or a masking tape guy?
No, I don't have steady enough hands to do liquid mask. Man, I'll tell you, like I was saying earlier, buggy painters, they do a lot of that liquid mask and freehand cutting. And there's some people that just do some really crazy things with that. And I'll stick to my Cricut, man. It makes it a heck of a lot easier for me.
Fair. Jacob Parker's in chat. What do you use to clean while parts are still masked? So, like, if you make a mistake, how are you gonna clean that up?
I use a round of like 91% rubbing alcohol to clean it before the first paint even goes down and there's masking on it. If your mask doesn't hold up to a little bit of rubbing alcohol on it, it wasn't going to hold up to paint. So that's something preemptively you can go back and fix and know that, that was potentially going to be an issue. After it's painted, as long as it's, to me, a PS, you can continue to use rubbing alcohol to clean. It's not going to take paint off outside of just very vigorous scrubbing.
I have a.
If you're
Go ahead. Go ahead.
if you're using like airbrush, and I haven't tested this myself, but I know that I wouldn't use rubbing alcohol because it takes it right off. A lot of residue when I'm worried about paint. If I need to take residue off, it's just lighter fluid.
Okay. My follow-up question on that is, after you clean with alcohol, do you clean it with another water, soap and water, or is the alcohol you go to and then paint on top of the alcohol?
Well, so the order for me would be soap and water, of course, after you've cut it out and sanded the body down just to get whatever industrial chemicals that might be on it and everything else. But after that, it's alcohol.
So like say you have a mask, like a few letters or whatever, and the mask didn't quite go on, or you painted it and there's a little bleed. When you clean it with alcohol, you let the alcohol dry and then paint, or is there a cleaning process on top of the alcohol?
Oh, are you talking about like for if there's paint bleed and you want to like correct it?
Well, no, just like if you're cleaning the surface, right? You say you put your masking, and then
Uh-huh.
you painted, and then you took off that mask, and then
Hmm.
before you paint, there's the adhesives from the masking. You clean it with
Okay.
alcohol, right? After you clean
Yeah.
it
Oh
with,
yeah.
what do you
Hmm.
do? Do you just paint?
After I clean it off, as long as it's clean from the alcohol, there's no residue, visible residue left behind. You can just go ahead and paint after that. There's
There's
nothing
no
else.
there's no weird chemical reaction between the alcohol and paint.
You just have to let the alcohol dry. I mean, it just take a couple seconds for it to dry up.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, on existing paint, you mean?
Well, no, just exactly what you just. That's my question. It's like because some people would clean the body, right, and then they'll paint over the alcohol, and then oh hey, the paint got weird because chemical reaction with the paint.
You have to let the alcohol dry. I mean, it really is just there for cleaning residue
Mhm.
off the body. So the
Okay.
alcohol, it does have to be dry. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. That's all I want to know because, I mean, we've all done the soap and water, and then like I use
Hmm.
for my own painting. If I do paint bodies, it's Scotch Brite. I use the soft side, and then I'll use the rough
Okay.
side, and then the soft side again, just to like get that. I don't sand the body down like some people do. I just use the Scotch Brite.
You're talking like on the inner inside for adhesion.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I
No,
don't do any of that. Like I said, with the alcohol prep and just making sure that it's clean. I haven't really had a need to do that personally.
Okay. Cool.
so
Yeah.
you had mentioned residue checking, because our bodies are clear. How are you checking, and what are you looking for?
Well, just like a window, right? You can still pick up a handprint
Hmm.
from a certain angle on a window. It's the same. If you have a strong light or source around, you can hold the body at an angle. And if you see like, I mean, hard fingerprints are hard to miss, but like greasy smears or whatnot. And if you look at the masking on some of these, you can see the adhesive beading up around the edge a little bit.
Yep.
So there's indicators for sure.
Perfect. Uh, Question in chat: do you always have to use a backing paint to make it more solid?
Yeah, you can. I mean, definitely for light travel, you would want to back, and then also making colors like whites look like they actually would on a real car. There are different colors you would want to use to achieve kind of that effect. I back all my white with silver, just to give it more depth, and then black, just to finish it up. So there's no light spill through the body. Because on some of those, you paint them white, and then it looks like a toy, kind
Hmm.
of, right, when you have the car on the ground. So in order to just kind of bring that down and give a little bit more depth to it, a backer color is definitely necessary.
Uh, do you use test strips? Do you test out your color combinations?
Yeah, man, the best thing you can do anytime you cut out a body, just hang on to
Yeah.
the little wheel pieces, things like this. I've got bags full of these things, and yeah, I'll use it to test uh, masking to see whether it's going to be something that's going to give me a lot of problems or durability on airbrush colors.
Okay.
So just take a piece, paint it up, let it cure for as long as you intend to let your body cure for, and then kind of beat the hell out of it and see how it does.
Hmm. Gotcha.
And I'm reading a chat real quick.
It's an interesting way of multitasking, huh, John?
Because I'm trying to read this and I'm trying to read this. Uh, yeah. So since you paint bodies and they look really really good, I mean I would say they're amazing. Um, Mounting the bodies, like
Mm.
because we use like I use magnets and I use two-sided tape. Have you tested the durability of your paint or of the paint that you've used on those cars with magnets, and or are you like cut a hole and put body post on or use body post? Which one do you prefer? What are the tips that you would recommend so you don't destroy your paint because your two-sided tape is too strong that it pulled the paint away from the body?
Well, and that's kind of why I like the Tamiya paint, because it is so durable that you get less of that paint pulling away from bodies. I've really only had that happen on bodies I've used Spastix paint with. As far as body holes and body posts go, no, man, I'm in this for the scale realism. That was like the first thing I ditched off of my old chassis when I figured out you didn't have to use that. Those were the first things gone. But as far as if you're worried about something like that pulling off, there is, you can use something like this top line tape, very sticky, very durable. You can put this on the body where your magnets are going to go, and then just let the tape stick to this, because this will it just creates a real nice buffer between the two, so you're not ruining anything.
Yep.
Okay. As far as like two-sided tapes that you use, that's a regular tape, right? Like just a backing tape, or
That's more of like it looks like it's more of a duct tape.
Okay, so it's just,
and then you would put the double-sided tape to that.
okay, cool. So do you have a brand specific or a preferred two-sided tape that you use for magnet mounting?
I just use the 3M. I think it's like 30 pound test or something like that.
Is it the
Just
clear stuff?
no, it's black with the red adhesive cover on it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Yep, just simple.
Nice. Well, I'm just asking for all, because now that I'm at a different track most of the time, we're actually getting new and newer people coming in, and questions pile up, and like, hey, what do you use? What do you? I figured we'll talk about that since we're talking about bodies. They're like, how did you mount your magnets, or what's the best way to do this? So I figured if we got new guys watching, this could be, we can get away from body posts forever. So,
yeah, exactly. Well, I think Adam had a good tip, and I don't know if that was the last episode or maybe a couple episodes ago, but for mounting using magnets, using the taped magnet to the outside of the body trick to get everything lined up, and that really is, that's the way to go.
Yep.
I've done that a few times, and then sometimes like this the 8.6, when I mounted it to the RDX, I literally had I eyeballed it. I had all 4 magnets like just laying, and I did the back first, because since the front's kind of weird, like the angle of it, like it curves down. So I mounted the back first, and then I mounted the front. So I stuck the back, and then it lined up, so it worked out for me.
Nice, you're lucky. Doesn't usually work that way.
So go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, I just want to interject. For competition, if your body comes off, that's a bad thing. So, Matt Timmer in chat, body pose for the win, or the overdose real body catches. Those are cool too, except when you forget when they're there.
All right, so let's talk about what body painting service cost. We'll start with cost of paint.
Well, hold up.
Yeah.
How about Joe? If I were to commission you to do a single color body, how much are you going to charge?
I would charge probably about 150 for a single color. Maybe, throw in a second color. Like if you wanted to do like a 2-tone, I would probably do it for about the same price. In my opinion, when it comes to pricing things out like that, you at the very least need to make sure that you're covering the cost of your customer's project, or covering the cost to be able to do that project again. If you have any screw ups or any mess ups to the customer's body on the first try, at least you have an out, that you're not taking money out of your own pocket to make things right.
Okay.
At least you're not losing money anyway.
Now, does that include the customer purchasing the body and shipping it to you, or is that you purchasing the body?
No, that's if you're sending me a body, and it really does depend on the body. It might go up a little bit from there. If it was something for, like, let's say an addiction style body, some of them get pretty involved. But that's sending the body. So if a customer does need a body sourced, I do that just at cost, whatever it costs for the body. I just pass that along.
Joe, are you an addiction dealer?
Sometimes, not really a dealer. I have access, and I do stock a bunch of addiction bodies.
Okay. Okay. So that might lead to some other questions later. But so we talked about like single color, two color. What about if we want to go crazy and we want to do like the full CalStar livery, right?
Sure. Something like that is going to be a starting price of about $350. And again, that it includes the paint, the masking, and all the labor, but doesn't include the body. And that seems to be pretty standard for what that type of paint job is going to go for out in the community for sources that you would trust to get that paint job from.
There you go. Okay. So now John, now I think we can dive into where you were going with it.
Okay. So we kind of went there, right? As far as the cost of paint, a painted body. So the basic body, if we want to go through it, basic body, one piece, not the addition for 15-piece body. Typically, what do those go for? Like let's say a Yokomo FD.
Just like, let's say I painted one and was going to sell it.
Yeah.
Or, okay, well, that's really kind of tougher. It's a lot different when somebody comes to you wanting something than putting it out there into the marketplace. But just for like a regular Yokomo, it would probably be about 200, I would say 2 to 250 overdose body, something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if that's if you're buying everything from me. If you provide the body, though, again, $150.
So I guess since we covered like basically those three questions, from start to finish, let's see here. What's
The main thing that I want to get into like everybody's just basic knowledge here is why does it cost so much? That's the important thing because 100, 150, 350, those are not cheap numbers for anyone, right? It's like we can buy another chassis for that.
Yeah, sure. Well, in regards to the amount of time that it takes, it does take a lot of times, very tedious. You have to have the equipment in order to be able to do that. You have to provide a paint job that holds up and stands the scrutiny of the customer. So there's a lot that goes into it. I mean, a lot of people have ideas about exactly what it is that they want, but they just don't have the access to have anything to give over to you. So in terms of like the failed crew bodies that I do, I've had to sit down and make all those as well. And, all that takes time. So it's not just the painting. It's not just the supplies and materials. It's a lot of time.
So how many hours would you say, hours, weeks, maybe months to do a body?
If it's like a failed crew body, I ask for 4 weeks, just so that I know that in some time in that 4 weeks, I'm going to have enough time to sit down and do it. But if I was just to sit down and do one, probably 2 weeks.
Okay.
It's a lot of hours, man. I'd hate to even count at this point. I'd probably stop doing it.
So I think you answered the hours. And so we ship it to you. Is it after shipping it to you, once you receive the body, it's about 4 weeks, right?
Yeah. Right now is considerably busy just with like comp season starting up. So I'm trying to move through a lot of competition bodies. And it really depends on what's going on with, here at my house in our personal life. We've had to rebuild part of our house for some water damage. So this summer, over the winter, it's been super busy.
Okay. Cool. So turnaround time's about a month, and then plus shipping time.
Yeah, and that's on something that I've probably already produced. If you're bringing a design that I don't have any
files,
anything in place for, something that I've got to sit down and design, then it's really just at that point up in the air. If I've got to basically make everything from the ground up.
Okay. Cool. So I think that concludes our. Is that the body portion of this
Yeah,
stream?
pretty much.
Okay.
Just a few questions to chat, catch up with chat. DJ Knox, any tips for paint weathering, specifically rust?
I haven't done much rust weathering or like damage or missile style cars, so I don't know that I'd be a lot of help on that one. I do know that they sell weathering kits that do have like rust and whatnot for dry painting on the outside of the body. So you might look into something like that. It's probably going to result in some dry painting on the outside of the shell.
Gotcha. Jacob Parker, can Joe design custom liveries?
I can, and it takes quite a while to do. Like I said, I use a Cricut for doing my masking cutting, and their kind of program is very limited with what you can actually do within the program, which is part of the reason part of the things that I don't like about it. So what I will do is I'll create PNGs and other programs that I can import into Cricut, and that has worked out very well. So I do designing, and I've done a few sticker sets like that for people, or painting it onto a body.
Cool.
Yep. Gotcha. Random question, not random, but Always Building says, why does everyone always put rust weathering on bumpers? They are plastic on real cars.
That's a good point.
I mean, well, we'd have to go back quite a few generations to get back to like real steel bumpers, right? Elsewise, they just like, I guess if you wanted to weather a real current bumper, you just like heat it up, take like a pencil and just like shove it in there. I don't know.
Jab it.
We don't do weathering, so.
Okay. So yeah. If you do have any more questions, throw them up in chat, whether they're paint related. If they are paint related, just like tag Joe, and we'll catch up with those. If you do have just like random questions about RC Drift, give them, like, put those in chat as well, because we'll do a small section of just like catch up questions and whatnot, or we might just kind of like go at it. But yeah. So Joe, let's catch up on the socials here. Where can we find you at?
Well, mostly my stuff is on Instagram. I post under Bankai Builds RC, and also my own page, just Joe Sardina, one word, on Instagram. Yeah.
Cool.
We'll post it on Instagram or on YouTube, like your links, once this concludes. I think there's underscores on there somewhere on your
there is.
So we want to make sure
you can type it in, it'll bring it up, and I should be like top
the first one.
result. Yeah, exactly.
So,
I think I have it in the description already. It's
cool.
Bankai _builds _RC.
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay. All right. So let's get into some other topics there. One of the topics that I wanted to get into was motors, because John has been doing motor tuning. Alex has been doing motor tuning. I'm going to be doing motor tuning tomorrow. Yeah. So let me switch this back to normal. Okay. So Joe, what turn motor do you run?
Mostly I run a 10.5, the Yokomo Type R 10.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
John, what have you recently discovered?
That I like running a 13.5. So I am gonna try 13.5 on concrete tomorrow and see if I like it. I like it. I like it on P-tile, so I'm gonna try it on concrete and see if that's the motor setup that I'm gonna go with in my future builds.
Okay. And which motor are you running specifically?
Right now I'm running the Hobby Wing D10 13.5 purple motor. I just felt like it was doing what I want it to, as far as like I'm not doing a lot of wheel spin that I don't need, and I feel like I have more response according to my trigger finger. Like I feel like it correlates a little bit better.
Yeah.
But like again, we're on P tile. I was doing that with a 10-5. I just felt like I was a little bit more on. I wasn't trying so hard to like tandem or get behind people or get to their doors. It's I felt like it was just there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm gonna try it on concrete and see if it works. And then I might be sticking to a 13-5 instead of a 10-5.
Mm-hmm. Do you think track size is going to be a big implement or a big like decision maker? Because right now PDX Underground is pretty small, and then
Yeah.
we have the big track at
I
Northwest.
feel like that's another factor into it, right? That's why I don't want to say, oh yeah, I'm gonna run 13-5 all the time, because I know if you're a competitor, you change your car according to the track.
Mm-hmm.
You tune for the track. Um, so yeah, that's why we're gonna try it. And if it's one of those where I have to have a 10-5 on a certain track, and then or a certain surface, then I'll run a 10-5 or back and forth.
Mm-hmm. So, Joe, why did you go with the Type R instead of? Well, actually, the Yokomo motor and what other motors have you got? Have you driven? Let's go there.
I've used a couple of Yusukani motors, a 8.5 and a 10.5, with their special edition release that they had a number of years back. Um, but other than that, and it's just been Yokomo, either Yokomo Zero or the Type R.
Okay, so those are actually a pretty big difference in terms of torque. Like I would say that the Yokomo Zero motor actually has a lot more torque than the R does.
Hmm,
So,
hmm.
so
Yeah, and quite a different off throttle feel as well. I like the R better, just with the smoothness
mhm.
that comes from that motor.
Yeah, so I find it interesting because like as far as the Yokomo R motor, I and the Hobby Wing motor, the D10, the I because I drive 10.5, right? Um, I don't like the feel of them. It's just like there's too much RPM, not enough torque for me, but that's just me. Um, so what I did to play around with it, I was noticing that the Yokomo Type T and the Yokomo Type R have different stators, right? So I swapped rotors. So now my Yokomo Type R has a little bit more of a fludgy feel, like an AccuVents fludge feel. Um,
Really.
and I think a little bit more torque. So we'll find out tomorrow what that brings. I'm curious.
You don't know if you're going to get a drag brake effect off of it.
Oh, I know with the T, heck yes, that's a drag brake effect no matter what you do. um,
Okay.
but yeah, yeah, the I don't think it'll be there. I think um it'll create what I want because some of the feeling that I have with the R, just the stock type R motor, is that it kind of hangs like when I'm coming off turbo or when I'm coming off of a higher RPM. It just like it feels like you're coasting a little bit more and it kind of pushes you out.
Right.
So
Hmm.
I'm trying to get rid of that. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Um, yeah.
Since we're still on the motor topic, um, pinion gear wise, what do you guys like to run? I know it depends on the surface or the size of the track. Um, what's been your go-to? Like, well, so since we have home tracks or there's tracks that we favor that we go to the most, I've been kind of playing around with pinion gears as well. Um, so I know with the AccuVans with the bigger 24 uh, T pinion gear, it's a little bit louder when you hit boost. Like you can definitely hear it. And then on when you run a smaller pinion gear, it's a little bit quieter when you hit boost. Have you guys had that issue or that result when trying different things as far as like pinion gear?
I mean, I don't think that the sound is gonna matter that much because I have a motor that sounds exactly like a baby goat, like in turbo. So
Maybe it depends on the motor, right? But that's kind of what I found when I tried, because I was trying to play with pinion gear just for torque purposes since I didn't have a 13.5 yet. So I tried 21, I believe, versus the 24, and the turbo sound is definitely a lot quieter with the smaller pinion gear.
Yeah, I hadn't noticed that.
Hmm. Okay, we'll try this again tomorrow.
I mean, the more important question is how did it feel?
So my findings on that is with the bigger pinion on the wider corners, I don't have the need to like give it more throttle to catch up. Like I felt like it was more all around for me with the bigger pinion. With the smaller pinion gear, when it's a tighter like off throttle on throttle type, I was a little bit faster to get to the door when I'm chasing, but I lose out on the bigger corners.
So I mean more usable RPM from the bigger pinion, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, that's what I was finding. I was just seeing if you guys had the same experience with the smaller versus big pinion on the turbo hit.
I mean, you could almost go as far as um so context. John and I drift in Assetto Corsa, and we do this one track called Drift Playland. Yeah, drift. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm. Yep.
Um, we also have this specific car that we've just like kept on using because it was so almost like
Easy.
yeah easy. It was basically like cheating, and it felt like this car was almost exactly matched to this track. So you would just run this track in second gear no matter what, like, and it was the perfect gearing for this. So I,
Mhm.
I think like the 21 in your case, John, is kind of like that second gear, like you just do everything in that gear and call it a day, right?
Mhm.
Whereas going up to that 24, you have a little bit more play room, like to modulate throttle. That way you can either get the wheels to brake where you need it to, or like put more wheel speed in where you need it to. Yes, no, maybe so.
Maybe so.
Blowing hot air.
Well, so what else have you guys tried as far as like pinion gear sizing? I know a lot of people play with gearing, bigger spur, bigger pinion, smaller spur, that type of thing. Joe, what have you tried in your personal experience with RC drifting with pinion gears? Like, have you tested out other pinion gears other than what came in the box?
Yeah, well, I mean, I always try to start with what is in the box. I haven't done really any like spur gear changes as far as teeth wise. I haven't gotten that quite that brave yet, but I'll go for anywhere from like a 21 up into like the 30s for pinion gear. Uh, uh, just really depending on the track and what I'm getting out of my car on the track. I will try different sizes
Mhm.
just to see what helps. But I don't necessarily go chasing a specific number in
Mhm.
mind though. Yeah,
Well, it changes every time you go to a different track, right? So
right.
surfaces and whatnot. So go ahead, Adam.
Jake's in chat. I make it drive right, then driver mod it. I mean, yes, because you have
Always.
to, right? You have
Mhm.
to.
Right.
I mean, we always say you gotta tune your finger, right? No matter
Mhm.
what, tune your finger, just because that throttle, that trigger pull, however you gotta do it, like whether it's just training your finger to be linear in the like just a straight line, or if you're in the radio settings and you're adjusting that curve, like however you need to do it.
Mhm.
Me, I like that throttle curve absolutely linear because then it doesn't do weird things on me.
Definitely.
Yeah, no
Um,
sudden ramp ups.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like everything is a little bit more usable when it's just like straight and you can predict it a lot easier. Okay.
uh, Go ahead.
Yep, go for it.
Oh, so uh, we were gonna ask you which motor you like best, but since you've tried a 13.5, yeah or no, Joe?
I don't think I've tried any 13.5s. I've been more interested in trying it lately, especially with the Midnight Mini. I've had ideas that that's probably what I'm going to put on that once that's built. Yeah.
Okay, I drove one last night with a 13.5, and I would say I like the feeling of it.
Mhm.
So if you're thinking about trying one, I think you should, and then see if you like that. My Mini drives almost similar to the RDX. Like I feel like the feeling is there, the same like um, trigger pulls and style of driving. It's very close. Um, so let us know once you try that, and we'll talk about this again. When you solder your motor to your ESC, what do you use? Are you using bullets or are you using straight solder to the motor?
Just solder. Yeah. I've tried bullets before. My soldering skills, man, they're not great. So as little bit of it that I have to do as possible. That's kind of where I'm at with it. I do like the convenience of bullets, but yeah, I've just never bothered too much with them.
Random factoid for the 6 people that put in their votes. We need to get bigger, you guys. 67% are running 13.5 motors. The other 33% are running 10.5. Honestly, if you haven't been there yet, try a 17.5 or what's the weird one that R31 put out? I think it's a 15.5 motor.
Yeah. I would like to try a 15.5 just because it's different than 17.5. And I know I've driven buggies with 17.5. Oh, your
Mhm.
Golem had a 17.5.
Yeah, so
Uh,
that
it was fast.
17.5 is in the RMX right now, and it's just kind of sitting. But there's another 17.5 in the RMX. But it's just an old clapped out, like old worn out uh buggy race motor. It's the D35 motors from Phantom that I'm running in it. So it's it's surprisingly good for how old and what it is.
Now, any tips and tricks on the motor ESC setup deal that you want to talk about, Joe, or want to add?
What is Joe's special sauce for ESC tuning?
I hand it off to somebody at the track who's really good at tuning, and I say, "Here, put those numbers into my controller." I don't, that's basically how I do it. I will usually work with somebody that I like their setup, that I trust, and have them kind of help me through that. I'm not real big on the electronics tuning part of it. That's something that I want to grow with, but just haven't really gotten there yet.
Mm-hmm. So have you like driven other people's cars and you're like, I want my car to feel like this. How do I do that? Like in terms of electronics, or just as in general, to be honest.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It seems like at every track there's that guy that's got the really nice feeling set up. So yeah, there's definitely up in the Seattle area a lot of guys that have really good setups that, like I said, I like the feeling of. And yeah, as long as I don't have to mess up the numbers, or I know that nothing's being messed up, that's usually the route that I go.
Cool. So I want to know, like, because you've been around for a little bit, where
Hmm.
is your RC drifting? Are you more like a hobbyist that just really likes drifting and likes clean, cool looking bodies, or is there a competitive side in you that's like I'm
Well,
compete or I just want to drive with everybody?
I kind of just want to drive with everybody. This is kind of the thing that I do to unwind and have fun. I have comped before when Kong was open, and they're fun, but it's not really, there's just too much going on. They take, all day, all weekend. It's just really not what I got into it for. It's more just to get out and have fun, keep up, bang some doors.
It's a lot of wait time.
It
Yes.
It's a
is a lot
lot
of
of wait time.
downtime. Get iced out real easy during those comp days.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
Cool.
like honestly, since at Northwest we actually have 2 tracks. We have the P tile track and the and our concrete track. So while we were running the competition out over on our concrete, there are others like that were done for the day that just went over there and just hung out. So I'm glad that we had that. Think I need to invest. Well, I'll rent out one of those bouncy houses like for adults, like the obstacle courses. We can include that as part of like qualifying. That'd be
Nice.
entertaining.
Yeah.
It'll be outside. That'd be cool.
No. Well,
Because you want the big one, right? Like in the summertime, you
yeah,
gotta go through the bouncy house. Yeah, with
yeah,
water, it'd be nice.
yeah. We'll do it.
Um, all right. So, I think that answers those questions. Adam, do you want to start with your topics?
I already started my topics. That was the motors, but there is another thing that already mentioned it in chat, which is the RDS again. So back to RDS. And I think Jake actually, yeah, Jake already said it. I feel like the RDS is an underrated underdog. It looks like it takes a lot of design cues from the YD2. 100%. YD2 and the, like I was saying earlier to you guys, the Yusakani front end.
Mhm.
Although they did the Ackerman adjustment a little bit weird. It's on the servo horn, not the actual servo, so that might play into leverage problems. Who knows? um, but yeah. I've been following Scale Science's videos about it and kind of keeping in contact with Jordan about it. Having some interesting conversations about it. Um, for me right now, like as far as it goes, the videos that they're doing has a total build cost of $550. So for you guys, well, for everybody, even in chat, like how far do you go as in terms of like you go from RTR to knowing that you can build like a better car, a better competition car if that needs to happen for not that much more, like maybe $150, $200 more than that. And you're into a YD2 or like better electronics all around. What are your feelings on that? Open conversation.
Well, I think this is going back to what we talked about last time. Knowing what we know now from, well, okay, yeah, let's start. So I'd probably build my own kit because now I know more of a choice of what I want the car to do and how I want the car to feel versus
Mhm.
like, oh, I'm gonna just buy a RTR and drive it and expect it to drive as good as the guys at the track.
Mhm.
So I
See,
think
like,
definitely good for me.
yeah, like that was another thing because like we talk about RTR a lot in terms of like what is a good RTR, what is the recommended RTR to get, right? Because we have the tried and true RMX, which is now the
Mhm.
RMX 2.5. There's the Yokomo, which has some burnt ends and yeah, no. um, and now we have the RDS, which is honestly I feel like it's an overly complicated chassis for that beginner, you know, because you're not going to be able to just like pull it out of the box, throw it down on the ground, and then drive it successfully. Um, whereas the RMX is already tested, and then the Yokomo is, well, no, Yokomo is just as bad. So, because it's the idea of having to mess with things right out of the box. Because I was
Mhm.
that guy once, right? I bought my first rear-wheel drive car and had no idea what to do with it, and nobody around me like Tor was the closest guy to me that had a wrap up next FRD, right? And we were like the two front runners in the Northwest that were doing rear-wheel drive at the time. They were so slow, my gosh.
Well, so Joe, what do you think about the like the what would you do? Like
As Go ahead.
RTRK or build? Like tell us your input on that.
I would probably build my own, and it'd probably just come down to the electronics of the deal. I mean, it's the RDS seems to be more set up like maybe like an HPI Sprint 2 was back in the day. You know, probably the upper edition of it with the higher KV motor on it, but those aren't necessarily electronics I would want to use. So yeah, just the extra money to have to spend on that is the way that I would go.
Mhm.
But I do see, like, being as adjustable as it is, that would have been really hard for a beginner for just taking the builder's kit and trying to figure out how to get it on the road, right?
Now, don't get me wrong, there's a time and a place for it, right? Or at least a place for it. If you're in a position where you have the knowledge, like if you are up there with Let's Drift Racing or Let's Drift RC, or at Northwest, or wherever there's a community, right? Because you guys up there, you guys in Guide, you guys travel to 3 different locations. And it's just like,
It's a lot. They spread themselves over a wide area. Yeah.
but
Mhm.
as long as you have the people that you can ask, then it's not a problem. If it's that lone star type of, like, if you are that guy that's just by yourself, that's where it makes it hard. Like, no matter what, it makes it hard. So that's kind of where I stand. Um, so just to let you know, on that Scale Science video, this is the week 2 build. They have a $1 3D printed hood vent, which they did themselves. The $80 for a CLSD, $6 for shims, $57 for RevD lower control arms, um, and all of that is bringing it up to like 550 from the RTR. So
That's
yeah,
not including electronics.
no, there was no electronics because it was from
Oh,
the
it's the
RTR.
RDS. Yeah, the RTR.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah,
400 starting place, and then add in that
for the
144.97.
mods.
Yeah, yeah. So it's, I don't know, because like it's so close to just say like go buy an RDX.
I want to drive one now. Like I just K or RTR. I just want to drive one.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want a guy to show up at the track and be like, oh yeah, I just bought this. This is what I'm learning on, and I want to drive it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah.
But the fact,
Before I
yeah,
say I can recommend it, or I want to see the actual quality,
right.
like where I'm at. I so far I like how the motor, or sorry, not the motor, the battery mount. It's kind of cool. Like it looks cool, right? Like it's not just a square, like wire, and you press it down, you put the battery in. They actually have a little shape to it. It'd be interesting. I want to see what the build quality is and how it goes together. See what the plastic is like, if it's like, Sakura plastic or Yokomo plastic or
Mm-hmm.
even RevD plastic.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want to see.
Right, right, right.
Mhm.
Um, Kane in chat, RDS should be nothing more than a parking lot basher. No, not at all. Like, Scale Science has it drifting on their track, like, and actually tandeming. It's a perfectly fine car. We have D5s, we got D4s. Those are still perfectly fine cars. Like, it's just all about the tune. And then as long as you have someone to tune, like
Mhm.
there's a lot of guys that I talk to, and it's more or less, hey, I just hand them to my tuner guy, and then he does the things, and I drive it. Which
And
cool.
I almost expect like these RDS kits to turn up more at like those expo type events that you guys have coming up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, you get a lot of people that show up and they watch the drift track at those things. I think you'll probably get a lot more people showing up actually with them in hand.
Yeah.
And that's probably where you're going to see that come from.
100%. Like, because it is a ready to run, so there's nothing
Mhm.
stopping them from literally, and I think it's an all-inclusive ready to run. Like, it includes the battery and charger, albeit not a
Oh,
good
wow.
charger, but like,
20-minute battery, sure.
It's enough to get you by until you get another charger or a better one.
but hey, like, what would that be? We'd see a whole bunch of like orange and silver RDSs at like Import Expo, right?
You have 400 GTRs going around the track.
I mean, but for us, for our community, what would be better, right? I mean, actually, I take it back. It would be better for like the expo people to see a train of 8 cars rather than like 20 cars on the track being all like, ugh.
Yeah, exactly. A bunch of RDSs banging into each other.
Mm-hmm.
Or just animing.
Right.
We'll see. I want to see. So I want to see all the cars show up at a track. Like it doesn't matter if it's MST, REAR, D-like REAR, or um, like RDX, SD, RD, MD, like all the Yokomos, all the MSTs. I mean, bring out the Sprint twos. I want to see that and see like I want to see those guys that started from drifting those Sprint twos or even the MST front motors or the wrap ups, knowing what we know now and like tuning those old cars to be able to hang with all this chassis that we have now. That's what I want to see. I think
That would be
that should be a challenge. We got to
cool.
find this rear wheel drive chassis and get it to hang with the just like I got one right here.
I just need one of these barrel gears here, these old Yokomo barrel gears, and I'll get this one up and running. My old D4. Get that one. I'll enter it.
I just want to see it, right? Like I want to see our progression from knowledge and like what we are capable of now. Like either
I
we
think you'd
throw
be
a
surprised as well as good as some of these old chassis could get running with people's ability to tune these days. I think you'd be really surprised.
yeah,
And
I want to see that.
chassis conversions too, right? Because my
Mhm.
arm, like, it's not an RMX 2.0, it's an RMX D VIP. Like, it is the original RMX.
Mm-hmm.
And it hangs with the rest of the crowd now. Albeit there's a chassis, it has a Razor chassis conversion on it now. So, like, it actually has the droop that it needs to get around the track, instead of just being like a pan car. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, since we're on chassis, Judson, is asking what your guys' go-to chassis be. In chat, go ahead and like chime in on this as well, because I know that there's between all of us, we have quite a few different chassis.
Mhm.
Yeah. What about you, Joe? Let's start with you. If you
I'd
could do
say
any chassis, any chassis that you've owned, what would your go-to chassis be?
I had a lot of fun and a lot of success with just the regular PDSL, the original PDS release. I think out of all of them, that was my favorite one to drive. Favorite one to work on. Is really very simple. Not a lot going on with it. I think that was for a company that kind of made their name from making accessory parts. That was one of the chassis that they just kind of put out and then just really did not offer a lot of second hand support for. But I enjoyed it.
I mean, everything PDS up until now, the NGE is the exception. PDSL was the last like fully carbon aluminum chassis, and then PDS Mix went into the plastic transmission case. So like,
yeah,
there was that. But at the same time, like the NGE is way more adjustable than like what we've had before with the PDSL, PDSL 8 high mount, rear mount, and the Mix where it could do low or high. So
mm-hmm.
it's just they're fragile gears that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, you just need to change those out with those aluminum Yokomo idler gears, and then you're set.
Yeah, so on the NGE you can't, and technically,
really?
technically on the Mix you can't as well because it's a weird idler gear. Yeah. Basically, when I built my PDS Mix, I did a Yokomo top shaft with the Yuzukani idler, and then a Yokomo ball diff. So my tranny was basically bulletproof.
Okay. How did you get the? Wait, no, you said ball diff,
Yeah,
so it wasn't
diff.
a gear diff. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
The popular trade for that one is the Tamiya TA. No, it's a Tamiya gear diff. Is what it is. But yeah, like when I was looking at that stock PDS Mix gear diff, I'm like, this is gonna blow up, and I'm not gonna have a good day with it.
Yeah, it's gonna grenade on you, and then that's gonna be the end of your day for drifting.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Jacob Parker in chat. If he didn't have an MD1, he would go for an RDX.
Okay.
What about you? What about you, John?
I mean, I have a RDX. I didn't go for the MD1 because the price point wasn't in my budget. I had MC1 fully kitted with all the hop ups from Yokomo. Uh, it did well for the 2 years that I had it. I think it's 2 years. It did what I needed. So it helped me learn that yes, it's cool, it's blingy. It performed like sometimes it performed the way I wanted it to. I just found something a little better. That I believe it's better than the MC1. Um, I didn't have to tune. Like I literally, so the way I got the RDX, I wanted to check it out. One of the local guys had it, Jake from Vancouver. I was like, hey, let me try that thing. And it's like, yeah, dude, I'm gonna be gone for 2 weeks. Do whatever you want with it.
Yeah, you commandeered that thing, man.
I didn't really do anything much to it other than throw my own electronics at it. Um, and then I noticed that the suspension was a little weird, so I kind of fixed that, like how the way I think it should work. All it is I moved the preload rings down so the spring actually sits on the cup, and it worked great. I've been driving it. That's why I got the urge to try a different motor and pinion, because I wanted to see what it would do. Since I'm not tuning camber or toe, I was just like, hey, let me try a um, different mod or different tuning, and it's I was like, oh, let me try motor, tires. Like I was more focused on what the motor would feel like with a different pinion gear, or what different turn motor would feel like. Um, so that's what I'm focusing on. And then the tires, I noticed that like between the new DRP tires and the DRC, there's definitely a big difference on those two. Even broken in, some people will say they feel the same as the DRC, but I feel like the DRP definitely have a little bit more of a grip or slide. I haven't pinpointed it out yet, but once I do, we'll talk about it next week.
Have you tried the derp tires, Joe?
I no, no derps. Is that the
it,
new Yokomo or
yeah,
what?
it's the new Yokomo DRPs. They're meant for P-tile, and they're really good on P-tile. Um, Overall, the main difference is the actual profile. So on a DRC, they're like completely flat, whereas the DRP is it's it's less aggressive than a DRA, but it's still profiled.
Oh,
And
okay.
I'm sure there's probably like a little bit more hard like plastic being involved there, but I don't know that. um, they're good actually, and they're pretty decent on concrete as well. They feel like LF5s.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Now,
nice.
John, did you ever get to saying which your preferred chassis was?
So well, I had a question about that. Preferred chassis that we can't have, or that we don't
No,
have, or is it our preferred chassis that we
so
like to drive right
the
now?
okay.
Because
Rephrase. The actual question was, what is your go-to chassis?
right now it's the chassis that I own. It's the RDX and the Midnight Mini YD2Z. Um, the way I have those two cars, well, let's talk about the Mini first. The Mini, the way I have it set up right now, um, it just drove good. I mean, it's, Friday night, I didn't want to drive it because I was driving the RDX and I felt like the RDX was just so good. Um, but man, driving that Midnight Mini it's really good. I drove Sam's and I was like, man, your car feels pretty good. And this is after driving mine, and it's just like back and forth. Like with either cars, it's either I'm getting better as a driver because I'm driving a lot more instead of talking to people when I'm at the track, or just hanging out. Um, Definitely the seat time, the drive time, practice is helping me a lot more. But I would say the Mini and the RDX is pretty close to my go-to chassis, and probably right now it's my favorite chassis. Um, I didn't get to drive the SD1 though. I wish I would have asked him if I could drive it to
So
compare. There was the SD1 at PDX. One guy showed up. He's had it for like 2 months, and or no, sorry, he's had it for a year, but this is the second time he's taken it out to a track.
An
And
ST1
yeah, or SD. It's the Yokomo. It's one of the new ones.
with the aluminum chassis.
Yes.
It hasn't been out that long.
He said he got it. Oh, sorry. He mentioned last year November. That's when he got it.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
Like, had it for a year. That chassis hasn't been out for a year.
Yeah, but he's had it for a while. It's the second time he's taken it out to PDX. The thing looks brand new. Like there's not even a dust on it. I wish I would have asked him if I could drive it. So
Yep. So
Is
for
it
those,
aluminum plate?
yeah. So for those of you who don't know, SD 1.0. I don't even it's scale drift. No, it's not scale drift. Because we've got master drift, we've got rookie drift, super drift. I think it's
I think
anyway.
it's one of those.
So it's aluminum YD2 with slide rack, with an updated slide rack, and it comes with both 3-gear and 4-gear transmissions. But the entire top half of it is plastic,
Mm-hmm.
which completely annoys the crap out of me. Like, if you're going that far,
I mean, I wish it was carbon, right? Like at least make that top deck carbon.
no, just do the full thing in aluminum.
I mean, they did a tie conversion kit, all titanium, lower and upper deck.
Right, but that was Slide TI, which no longer exists.
Yep. So, Sledgehammer says how to get good with a GUD.
No,
Seat time, drive time.
I mean, Jake follows it up, right? With a perfect quote. Let's see if I can do it in the right voice. There's no wax on, no wax off in drifting. Just learn by doing it.
Pretty close.
I need the bag of munchies or something like that.
Right.
Okay.
Well, and you need the long hair too, if you're gonna do that.
Dude, I've tried the long hair thing, and once it hits my ears, I just can't do it. So that it's time to chop it off. I can't do that live. Anyway, okay. So we're pretty much done with our topics, guys.
Mm-hmm.
We've already called out the RDS again. Which, okay, if I can find one, and I'll probably buy the kit instead of the RTR, that's what I'd probably want to try. And that's probably what I'll do.
Cool.
But I gotta recover from other investments first. Yeah. Yeah. The GOM is not a cheap thing.
No, never.
So, go ahead, Adam. You gonna say something?
Oh no, go for it.
No, I lost it. I was gonna say something, but I forgot. Go ahead.
So you guys, I don't know how comments work. Like, I mean, I know how comments in live chat work, but for some reason, like they'll show up when you're watching, I think, but they won't show up just like as a separate comment on the video. So if you do have ideas like chat topics or stream topics that you want to see, that you want to have covered, wait until after you can see the repost of the video and then put a comment there, because then I'll see those and then we can follow up on those. I mean, if you have anything, write it in chat right now so I can write them down. Oh, thanks, Shy Love. Don't forget to like and share and subscribe. Do that thing.
So Joe, if you wanna plug your gig or your services for all these guys, go ahead.
Yeah, just like I said earlier, follow me on Instagram, Bankai Builds RC, or under Joe Sardina. I post builds under both. And yeah, if anybody needs anything, just reach out. Feel free to reach out to me.
Mm-hmm. One last thing, Matt Timmer wants to know how his body's going, Joe. You can ask him. You can tell him later. You don't have to tell him here.
Yeah. I'll text him later.
Okay, you guys. So I think that's gonna do it. a little bit longer than last time, but a little bit shorter than most. So let us know how you like that time. It's about an hour and a half time of a stream. Usually we're closer to about 2 hours. Yeah. So let us know. If you guys have any questions, comments, put them down in the chat. And we'll see you next week, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You guys have a good evening.
Peace.
All right. See you guys.